Okay, let's talk about several things. Let's talk about Rob Misla. Does he have a libel lawsuit in the works potentially? We know he is married to Spencer Tepe's sister. Now, Monique and Spencer Tepe, they were tragically killed in Columbus, Ohio. It turns out that Monique's ex-husband, Michael McKee, is now in jail charged with their murders. As a result, the home of Monique and Spencer Tepe has just been put on the market for $775,000. Let's talk about all this. And now that these photos are out, one of them stopped me in my tracks. New images of Monique and Spencer Tepe's home in Columbus, the image of their egress window. Did Michael McKee use this egress window, this basement window with a window well, to enter their home? I couldn't help but ask if that's how Monique's ex-husband, McKee, possibly entered their home. Now, we don't know. Police reports have only told us that McKee was seen entering the curtilage of the home at least once prior to the murders, not even the same night as the murders. But when McKee got into the home previously, if he ever entered the actual home, is this how he entered? Was he able to enter their yard, figure out how to get into the home and wander around, determining the entire layout of the home? Did he figure out the primary bedroom versus the other rooms, so that he did his little reconnaissance mission to come back later to return to the home, drive straight there from the Chicagoland area, commit the heinous crime, and then drive straight back to Chicago or Rockford, Illinois to continue his work as a doctor? Well, let's talk about all of this. While it might look like a standard basement window, egress windows are specifically designed to provide a safe emergency exit and a way for first responders to possibly enter the home if needed in the event of a fire or another emergency. Now, how would someone enter through this window? From the outside, entry would actually be simple. They could step down into the window well from the ground level. They could stand in that window well because the pit is built pretty large enough for a big person to fit in that window well. We know Michael McKee. We've seen the scary surveillance video of him kind of, shuffling away, looking down. He's pretty tall, and we've seen him in court too. He could either open or break the basement window. Now, we know he probably did not break the window because according to police, there was no forced entry that we knew about. So he probably didn't break it in a way that police could discern. He could then climb down or step through the window directly into the basement room if the window happened to be left open or if he had enough time to jimmy it and figure it out. There are security weaknesses with some basement windows. Not necessarily this one. I can't even tell if this one opens. And this is what burglars know to commonly do with them. First of all, because of these windows are hidden from view, we can tell this Tepe window near a fenced-in yard, and so it would give a burglar time to stand there and just figure out, okay, this is pretty hidden, maybe by the fence, the wall, shrubs, or something. If someone stepped down into that window well and they're monkeying around with the window, they're completely out of sight. So people passers-by, might not call the police on them. Maybe the neighbors wouldn't have seen McKee monkeying around with that window if it's kind of out of sight. That gives someone the privacy and enough time to tamper with that window. And I'm wondering if that's what Michael McKee did. Sometimes basement windows are easier to open. Now, this isn't a sliding window from what I can tell. It's kind of hard to tell how he would actually open it. And of course, we don't know if that's how McKee actually entered. In fact, it's hard to tell if he could have entered this thing at all because I don't really see kind of like how it would flip up or out or something. Did he use a window cutter? What did he do to get in here? We know this is a newer home, so it's not likely some older latch design. But these windows can still be sometimes forced open, pried open, and the fact that it is intentionally large enough for a person to fit through would make it easier for McKee to fit through that way. This opening area is about the requirements for egress windows need to be 5.7 square feet opening area. They must have a minimum width of 20 inches and a minimum height of 24 inches. These type of windows usually have no alarm sensors on them either. Now, a lot of people think, of course, of putting sensors on their front door, on their main windows. Basement windows are often forgotten, but this is a newer home, so maybe it wasn't. And it offers that kind of easy step-down access, like a natural stairwell. Someone can just get in the yard, comfortably step down and then just work on that window. They have a gravel base there, usually covering a drain. It prevents flooding, but it also helps provide a flat surface for someone to stand there, potentially for hours. I'm just theorizing, but is this what Michael McKee found? Was this his entry point? This particular window well in the sales photo has no covers. We don't know if this is the way Monique and Spencer had their window well when they were still alive. We don't know if it was always this way. This home has obviously been staged. Beautiful home. I hope it really sells. But if there's no cover, that's another thing not preventing anyone from having access to the window. So there are security improvements. Some people put metal gates on there, motion lights, glass break sensors, polycarbonate window well covers, but we don't know if the Tepes had any of that. Perhaps they did, and of course this is no fault of their own, no kind of victim blaming here, because when you have some person intent on doing harm, intent on stalking his ex-wife, like McKee seems like he was, maybe he would have stopped at nothing until he made it in the house. Now, let's move on from the home, which is gorgeous, which I hope sells, which we've now get to see the layout. We see their primary bedroom faces the backyard. Of course, it wasn't necessarily staged this way when Spencer and Monique and their children lived there, but we get to see the gorgeousness of this home. We hope it really sells. One thing I thought of when looking at it, it made me sad because I thought, oh my God, the Tepes should have been allowed to just raise their children in this home for decades, for as long as they wanted to, sell it when they wanted to. Since they weren't able to live out their dream, I hope someone else is able to. I know some people, of course, would get skeeved out and wouldn't want to live in a home where something tragic happened, but others might take advantage of the opportunity and live there and hopefully live out the dream of a happy family that the Tepes weren't allowed to live out. But now let's switch over to this fake news a little bit, since it's related to the Tepes. There's a new report, and I'm really grateful that Rob Mesla is calling out the fake news. So there's this new report by NBC4i.com. I've linked to it below. You can read it. And they show a screenshot from that website I hate. You guys know I'm going off about it all the time. News 75 Today. And they even talk about some snippets from a Facebook true crime creator. They're all called out in this Tepe murders case. People who have blamed the brother-in-law or shed a lot of suspicion on him before McKee was arrested. It talks about in the days after Spencer and Monique were killed in their Columbus home, of course their family was grieving, but then there was this wave of online speculations and accusations. 37-year-old Spencer and 39-year-old Monique, as we know, were found shot to death in their home in Columbus. It was December 30th. They have 2 young children, ages 1 and 4, and they were physically unharmed in the home. But Rob Mesla, who is Spencer's brother-in-law, indeed married to Spencer's sister, Maddie, I believe her name is. Rob, he was outspoken. He came out, he was sort of the family representative, and I think it's heroic of him to step up and to step out. Imagine you're married to your wife and all of a sudden her brother and her brother's wife are killed horribly. And maybe your wife isn't the type that wants to speak to news reporters or speak for the family. So he stands up. Rob becomes this spokesperson for the family, and unfortunately, whatever player appears in a crime case, some people just automatically attack them. There's a missing puzzle piece, some people just automatically attacked Rob. He said it's been life-altering, of course. The day we got the calls, you could feel this massive weight just kind of pressing down on us, and it's like everything is going to change. We're never going to see them again. So he was dealing with that grief. And look at this screenshot that they show from the fake News 75 Today website headline. So it was put in the NBC article. This News 75 Today said, a dispute between siblings can hold clues. Just days before the events at the home of dentist Spencer Tepe and his wife Monique Tepe in Ohio, sources said a brother-in-law angrily stormed out after a heated argument about finances, leaving the door ajar. Now, can you believe it? I pray to God Rob Messla is able to get a lawyer and sue the pants off of this website to totally uncover who wrote this mess, who wrote this madness. Imagine you're grieving. You're at the depths of your grief. These people, this couple you loved, your family members, they've been slaughtered. And then you open up Facebook to see that this stupid website is blaming you for some fight that never happened about finances, saying you left the door open. In essence, claiming, oh, Rob left the door open, so that means that's how, the murderer got in or whatever. Totally wrong. Now, according to this new NBC4 article, it was posted March 5th, 2026. There was also a true crime creator on Facebook who made the following comments saying, okay, I believe this is what happened. I'm swaying towards the brother-in-law being the suspect too. I'm thinking out loud here, but I wonder if the brother-in-law and wife were struggling to have children. Brother-in-law envious of the life Spencer had, but resented him for being away from the home for such long days, when that's all he's ever wanted. Probably way off the mark, whoever wrote this wrote, but I've thought about it. So hurt on top of hurt. Of course, that person thought they were just spitballing, but I have seen a lot of people attack Rob ever since he first came out on Reddit. Just the fact that he said, oh, I'm the brother-in-law. So people automatically assumed he was Monique's brother. But then he kind of explained himself further, like, no, I'm married to Spencer's sister. And he was the first one on Reddit I saw. I still have the screenshots where he was like, the couple, they haven't been named. Their names are Spencer and Monique. And people were attacking him already, like, why would you say that? You're a liar. Oh, my goodness. People would just kind of go crazy with it. And ever since then, I think he might have shut down his Reddit account or locked it up or whatever, because people just came at him so harshly for no reasons, just because he would do interviews. He wanted to get the news out about the crime. He wanted to show people what a lovely couple Spencer and Monique were, what lovely people they were. But the article goes on to state that a true crime content creator was one of multiple individuals to insinuate that Rob was somehow involved in the killings. Now, see, it doesn't help when you already have websites like that fake News 75 Today out there creating fake headlines, and then you have people commenting all over Facebook, Reddit, YouTube, everywhere. They start this spiral of blame, 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 and they think they're dealing with true news sometimes, and they don't realize it's fake news. And they use that to solidify their position. When Rob would speak out and say, look, basically it's not me, and other people would come to his defense, they got attacked by online users. He says, your speculation turns into other people's facts, and it's like you're lighting a torch. Now the mob is joining you. Indeed. I see what he's saying, because people say there's nothing wrong with speculating, and I guess there isn't, based on the context, and where you're doing it. I guess you have to be very, very clear. That's why on Web Sleuths, they require people to say, in my opinion. That person who wrote, I believe this is what happened on Facebook, I'm swaying towards the brother-in-law. I'm thinking out loud here, and I wonder if it was the brother-in-law and wife struggling to have children. Some other person will read that, and then they will go and say, oh, I heard the brother-in-law and wife were struggling to have children. They don't realize that was just a person's thoughts. They were just making up something out of thin air. So I see why Messla says your speculation turns into other people's facts, and it's like you're lighting a torch. Now the mob is joining you. That's why I don't want to do that. I want to be very, very clear on facts versus speculation. He said, these people who, again, were not there from the beginning have very limited information on anybody involved. Now they're just saying these things, whether they believe it or not. They're doing it for clicks and likes. Yeah, that's why it's like I don't like these over-the-top headlines or fake stuff. I'm just not going to do it. It might draw eyeballs, but to me it's not worth it. Rob said dealing with all that as we're going through planning the funeral, figuring out what to do with the house and where the kids are going to be and who's going to keep the dog and all these things that were just flung onto us in a second. It was tough. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine. It's hard enough to deal with the loss of a parent dying naturally, let alone the loss of, you're young, no one expects people in their 30s to die like this. Your young family members, you have to figure out how we're going to take care of the kids, where to put the dog. Oh my goodness, where's all their paperwork? We got to sell the house. We got to, bury them. Oh my goodness. And on top of all that, you have people online pointing fingers at you, calling you the murderer. No wonder Rob said, my mental health took a toll. I wasn't sleeping very much. I wasn't eating very much. And that's where I think he could have a libel lawsuit, especially against that website that wrote the fake headlines about him, because he has his own business too. I believe he's still that, videographer. So imagine if he's lost business or continues to lose business because people are like, oh, wait a minute now, that new 75 website said the brother-in-law did something. And that stuff is impactful. That stuff harms people. So Rob went on to say people just kind of shift the narrative however they want it to play out for them. And then when it doesn't, they move on to the next one. I have totally seen that in some cases. Believe me, some people where, they dub a certain person the prime suspect. And then it's kind of like, oh, well, maybe my source was wrong. Or, oh, well, it's like, what if someone did that to them? Would they move on so easily? Without an apology? We can all get it wrong. I'm not saying I'm perfect. Of course, I've gotten things wrong, but I have come back and apologized, and I'm very cautious these days. I don't just point fingers willy-nilly. I didn't even point fingers at Michael McKee. When I made my first video about Michael McKee, I was like, okay, I don't really think it's him. Would a surgeon really go through all this, to harm his wife? And then when it came out, all the more evidence, I, of course, changed my thinking. But I had my doubts about him, but I wasn't going to make that first video saying, oh yeah, the ex-husband probably did it, because I just didn't have the evidence, Sure, you can get tons of views and stuff from it, but it's not worth it if you're ruining a life. Rob said a lot of the attention has shifted from this case to Nancy Guthrie or what's happening in the case in Tip City. Indeed, the Caleb Flynn case. We see how people are tearing down his alleged mistress. Rob said those people are probably doing the same things to those family members. He said, I understand the obsession with true crime or the interest in it. But he said, we've all watched documentaries and stuff. It's just that when you just say everything that comes to your mind with total disregard as to who you're saying it about, it can just be dangerous. So that's why I'm wondering, is there a defamation lawsuit that could be filed in Rob's case? Potentially. Rob went on to say that people who share theories about true crime cases that turn out to be correct, they get to have their moment. I called it, I called this from the beginning. While those who were wrong typically never mention it again or apologize to the people they spread false information about. He's so right. Rob said the dumbest people tend to be the loudest. And it's so true. Right before I jumped on the microphone to narrate this video, I saw on Facebook people still dogging out Rob, even after McKee has been arrested. And people totally lie. Some person was like, I have the screenshots. He was on Reddit saying the craziest thing. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't have more screenshots than I do, believe me. I think I have almost every single thing Rob Misla posted on Reddit after this came out, who he was. I never saw him say anything crazy, ever. But this person on Facebook just saying, oh, he said some of the weirdest things. And I'm thinking, no, he didn't. People need to be careful. People are very strange. That's all I can say. Even in the Caleb Flynn case, when I was able to grab this one video before the church deleted it, it was way before Caleb Flynn even got arrested. So I titled it something like, okay, Caleb Flynn, people are going off on him in the comments, but are they getting it wrong? I had to stay safe. I wasn't accusing him of anything, he hadn't been arrested yet. And then after he got arrested, I explained, okay, I titled this prior to his arrest. And someone's arguing me down like, no, you didn't. I saw you post it before. People just lie. They like to lie. They like to think things are one way and they aren't, I guess. Anyway, someone else commented, you're going to start seeing lawsuits. They said, I read recently that some of the people from the Nancy Guthrie case intend to file civil lawsuits. Indeed, they might. Not just against police, but social media users and sleuths. Know what you can say and what you can't say on social media. I do agree with that. To me, there's nothing wrong with bandying about theories. I'm not saying, people always say, we have our First Amendment rights. And of course that's true. But the First Amendment does not cover us talking willy-nilly, like Wendy Williams used to say, talking greasy. You can't just say anything, especially not about a private citizen, especially not without any evidence whatsoever. It goes off into the land of crazy in my mind. Like the girl, oh, heaven help her, thank God Rihanna's safe. The girl who shot up Rihanna's house. I mean, she just had things in her mind like Rihanna has this certain disease and Cardi B is not inviting me to her party because I look too good. Like stuff she was just totally creating in her mind. I'm sure Cardi B has no idea who this person is. I'm sure Rihanna had no idea who that woman was either. It's giving Baker acted. You know what I'm saying? It's given the 5150, 72-hour hold when people start grabbing random folks like Rob Misla's name, and just because he was out there in the media and we didn't really know about Michael McKee yet, people just automatically grabbed him up like a Clue character saying, oh, he's the one. He did it. And it goes even farther when you take it to sites like News 75 Today and intentionally create lies just to make money, just to entice people to go to that wonky website and entice all these other people to link to it. And they're not the only ones. I mean, I found a couple of more, which are pretty sad. I always see this trending U.S. Prime linking to News 75 Today. They need to sue like Judge Faith did with her husband. They were able to subpoena the actual domain name holder, the website, it's been so long since I've done this, the website host, to figure out who's behind this and find the actual person. And even then, just looking farther, I see these stupid, heartbreak. Some healthy life in nature. Heartbreaking, the 4-year-old daughter of Spencer and Monique constantly asks about her parents with the same 5 words. And they grab photos of other random children that have nothing to do with it. Or this Next Hour US shocking update. The children of Monique are the only witnesses. Now, we don't know what the children witnessed or did not witness. And they put, they try and put legitimate reporters' pictures next to some random child and fool people into thinking it's real when it's not. And I even like this, that Nate Eaton, he posted on Valentine's Day. All these people are messaging him, asking him, why not share these photos? In the Nancy Guthrie case, it's a woman talking to the guy, who showed up at her door. He's like, it's because it's all fake. Look, they're fake images. Be cautious about what you see posted on social media. Nate is like, I'm only posting verified, confirmed news on my page. I don't blame him. And he's saying, look, if I make a mistake like we all do, I'll work as fast as I can to correct it. But he was hoping Nancy was found safe. She still hasn't been as I record this. But I do wish people would, take a little bit of time. There are ways on Reddit to say, look, is this AI? Ask people, don't just go spreading stuff that's totally fake. Unfortunately, the people are going to keep creating it. So hopefully the big ones can be pulled down like the News 75 Today, because they continually do it in Anna Kepner's case, in this Tepe case. They've done it in the Caleb Flynn case. And so they need to be stopped. Let's close with Isaiah 48:22. There is no peace, says the Lord, for the wicked. So I've been on the court website checking for updates in the Michael David McKee case. All I found, I don't know when he'll be in court again. I just see this March 10th, 2026 notice of intention to use evidence. We don't know what kind there. And they're getting in supplemental discovery, so I think I'll go through and see what I can request if they will let anything go. And there was just a notice returned. They were trying to send something off to McKee's old Chicago address, so no wonder that was returned. Okay, that's all I know for now, but I had to put this up. Let me know what you think about that egress window. Will police tell us more? Do they know how McKee actually entered the room? Enter the home? Did he enter it previously and then later? Let me know what you think about all of this, and hopefully, if anything, this can be a cautionary tale once again to help people who do have those types of windows secure them even better. Okay, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more.